It's great to have you with us.
Very good to be with you, and it's actually Western Australia,
not Western Sydney. I'm sorry.
That's okay, no problem.
Yeah, we've just moved states.
Western Sydney's a very good university
it is.
too.
I meant Western Australia, of course, Perth being your home base.
Indeed.
Now, let's look at the political race in America. Mr. Obama and Mr. McCain. Can you give us a snapshot of their personalities and who they are?
Well, this election campaign is Obama's to lose, basically. Now he's well ahead in the polls. And unless something happens in the debate today, a few hours away, and McCain is going to come out with all guns blazing, huge promises to deal with the economic circumstances, every conceivable thing he can say within the realms of politeness about his opponent. But that will be his last big shot. So they're politicians of different eras. And McCain is very much a politician educated in the era of the Cold War. Obama is a politician of the new generation, and they have totally different approaches to the way in which they govern.
Yes, it is an extraordinary race, and do you think McCain can actually pull ahead here, because he's several points behind?
There is a thing called, and it's a very difficult thing to discuss on television, the so-called Bradley effect. It was a black candidate for Los Angeles mayor about 20-odd years ago, well ahead in the polls and lost on the day. And the view was that a lot of people talking to pollsters lied about their preparedness to vote for a black candidate. But things have changed since then.
In 20 years, most
And I think the way Obama has conducted himself, which is cool and cerebral, as in these difficult and troubled times, makes him a hard person for McCain to deal with.
Economy, without question. Every poll says it's economy, economy, economy. Yeah. That's what the Americans will be voting on. Who is best placed in that regard?
Well, it's not so much a question of who is best placed, but who is blamed. And there's no doubt at all that the bulk of the American population sheets the blame home to the current administration. It doesn't matter that it's a Democratic majority in the Congress, it's the administration which counts. That's George Bush. And the Obama campaign has spent a long time putting George Bush and John McCain in the same pot together. So it's got to be said, the economy works for Obama.
We then, we haven't heard as much about presidential candidates ever, I don't think. Sarah Palin, what's your view on Sarah?
Well, she obviously lights up an element of the Republican base where John McCain has had some difficulty, the sort of evangelical end of the base. But I'm not sure she was the right candidate in the current circumstances.
Do you think she's got the experience, if you analyse her resume, her portfolios?
I'm not sure that they examined whether or not that experience was sufficient. I mean, a perfectly good President of the United States was Bill Clinton, who came similarly from the governorship of a small state. But as the record of her administration in Alaska is examined, there are more question marks over it. She's clearly not an experienced national politician.
And of course, the satirists, being a politician yourself, you've suffered at the hands of the satirists, but have a look at Tina Fey on American television.
You know, John McCain and I, we're a couple of mavericks, and gosh darn it, we're going to take that maverick energy right to Washington, and we're going to use it to fix this financial crisis and everything else that's plaguing this great country of ours. You know, we're going to take every aspect of the crisis and look at it, and then we're going to ask ourselves, what would a maverick do in this situation? And then, you know, we'll do that.
Tina Fey, Saturday Night Live, what do you think, fair?
She's killed her.
Yeah?
I think she has done immense damage to Sarah Palin. But how lucky is she? She's a body double. I mean, where do you ever find that? The nearest I ever saw to a sort of body double was Max Gillies and Bob Hawke. And Bob loved Max. And he actually liked the satirical portrayal of himself.
And it didn't seem to hurt Bob.
He is the only politician I know who could honestly say he likes it. We all hate being satirised, and it does undermine us. I mean, it's no accident that in dictatorships like the Soviet Union, The satirists were heavily focused on by the secret police because they were the most dangerous people to deal with. A fellow presents a long essay arguing against your policies from very sound bases. Isn't the sort of person who's going to bring you down. The fellow who makes you a mockery, he will.
Scary, isn't it?
Or she will, in the case of
Okay, in terms of whoever wins the election, you were, as I mentioned, twice opposition leader, defence minister. How are we best placed?
Look, the result will be very different, for a different challenge for Australians, depending on who wins. McCain, he's a Cold War politician. He's got a mind full of structures, of which we are part of the alliance system. Obama is closer to Generation X. Generation X does not, and Generation Y even more so, don't think in terms of structures. They think in terms of problem solving. So McCain will look to the past and say, tick for Australia. You've been great mates with us, and how about a bit of help? Obama will say, who will help me solve the problems and what are their ideas?
Does America need us with Pine Gap and all?
Yes, they do. Pine Gap is an immensely important intelligence.
So he will, if it is President Obama, he will have to look kindly upon us?
Well, he's disposed to anyway. It's just not so much how they look at us, but what they expect of us, and how they assess the past commitments. Very important to McCain. He's a Navy man. The Navy men have Pacific maps in their heads. Obama was born in the Pacific and raised in the Pacific, but I'm not sure he thinks about it the same way. But he does think about problems, and he's about ideas. He's very cerebral.
Well, who's best for us?
Well, I think Rudd will relate quite well to both. Kevin Rudd, I should say, will relate quite well to both of them. I think he'd enjoy the challenge from Obama more, because Obama would take seriously. Say, well, what do you think, Kevin? What is the way we resolve this problem? And that will be a pretty new component, I think, of the relationship. And since Kevin Rudd likes lots of ideas, he'll no doubt have an answer.
Your pick for the election? It's, what, 19 days away?
Well, debate. McCain's going to throw the kitchen sink, plus a few huge promises. Will that shift things? Probably not. In which case, as I said at the outset, it's Obama's to lose.
Kim Beazley, we really, really do appreciate your time, and it's great to catch up. It's been a little while. And are you enjoying your life?
Yeah, it's hard.
But nobody sends you up. There's no satirist to take you out now?
No, but a taxi driver took me to the airport the other day, and he said, well, you know, you won't be as well paid as you were, but you'll be freer of stress. I said, I'm paid 3 times what I was, and I'm stressed out of my mind.
But is it easier not being a politician in the public eye?
I love being a politician. And once it's in you, it's like a drug. Once it's in your veins, I'm still in cold turkey, and I'm not enjoying that.
Kim Beazley, we appreciate your time.
Good to be with you.